So you would argue about the change the cover situation. What kind of arguments would you make?
Oh, I'm 100% in favor of like giant titties. Always. 1 billion%. I also think, like I said, sexy is not inherently sexist. Sexy is good. Sexy sells. I also don't like the idea that we should be trying to cover up, like, so my fiance loves really classic book covers, and he likes to get his books secondhand just because he likes like antique books, you know. And he's into like the classics. Like his favorite author is Edgar Allan Poe, and he has like, you know, the really nice leather bound collection kind of things. And the one thing that gets him every time is he will fly into a giant rant whenever they change the cover. And that's just on books. They're not like doing it for any reason other than for selling more. And he just gets so mad. He's like, why would you do that? It already has a cover. What are you doing? Why are you changing it? Stop changing things for the sake of changing it. And I'm like, probably because it sells more with the new ones. And he's like, no, they're just changing it to make it look new, kind of like the way they do with cars, which is a real thing. They change cars to make it look more like it's changing and novel. So he gets very mad about that. And when it comes to the comic books, I'm stronger on that opinion than with classic books because I don't think it's just to sell it more. If anything, I think it has the opposite effect. It does not sell it more. They keep thinking, aha, if we have like, you know, four, like, okay, so I have like a huge amount of Doctor Who comic books. When I went to the hospital like 2, 3, 4 years ago, I brought like 5 Doctor Who comic books with me, and my best friend and I just sat there reading Doctor Who comics while I was like coughing up blood. Good stuff. That's actually a fond memory for me. Anyway, so they always have like, they'll have like variant covers. So they'll have like 4 different covers just because they're trying to see what sells better or because it's a collector's thing. They're trying to like milk collectors. With Change the Cover, they're not even trying to do that. They're just trying to be like, yeah, we don't want comics to seem so sexist
Well,
to
hang
like
on. No, the change
soccer
the cover
moms
thing
now.
was specifically about Batgirl and how
Yes.
she was allegedly portrayed in a weak way, and also
Well,
that
they also had,
apparently that the Joker might have had like some rapey vibes to him because the Joker was
yeah,
depicted as the Joker from The Killing Joke, which had a scene
it
in
is,
it
yeah.
that
So
right. It
I
was more
love The Killing
nuanced
Joke.
than
It's
just
one of
big
my
boobs,
favorites.
right?
It wasn't just The Killing Joke cover. Which I understand where that could be triggering to people of who have been victims, and I don't think you should even read The Killing Joke if such a thing bothers you. Like my mom has been a victim, and I would never ever let her read it. Like she could not. She could not. Um Absolutely not. But when it comes, but they also got really mad about like Spider Woman
Yeah, Spider Woman. That was a
because
separate controversy, but yeah.
yeah, but they also had it in Change the Cover. So in hashtag Change the Cover
Oh,
even.
did they? I
So
didn't know
like
that
they
part.
were,
Okay, I didn't see that at the
yeah,
time.
they
I should say, but
yeah, they were really mad about how her butt is was postured. And they were like, it's just so sexist and all the rest. And then like other people were showing like actual cosplay that looked even sexier than the cover. And I was like, this is my exact point. Like women are sexy, deal with it. Like you shouldn't be trying to cover them up. Now when it comes to, again, when it comes to The Killing Joke, if such a thing bothers you, you should not be reading that volume to begin with. In general, like Batman is based on the Zorro stories. He did a neo-noir version of it because he couldn't get like the copyright, and he just was like, all right, I'll just do my own Splinter spin-off in like a modern city. And it went fantastically well. Like Zorro is not as popular as Batman, straight up. Now I love them both. So, but like Zorro, bleh, Batman is also much darker and always has been than Zorro. Zorro, because of its time period and its like context, cultural context, is nowhere near as like graphic, dark Gotham. it's just not there. It doesn't have the Gothic history. It's before that. Gotham is literally kind of based on the Gothic history, etc. And again, if a cover is too violent, probably tells you what's on the inside. Um, I also don't like the idea of censoring art, which again is a very Western thing. Now, the Roman Empire like obviously had a lot of naked statues, like no problem. People did not have a problem with nudity in the Roman Empire, right? This became much more of a Christian moray because they started associating the nudity and over sexualization, quote unquote, over sexualization of the Roman Empire as being extremely paganistic, hedonistic, especially. And the over sexualization was something that a lot of the Christians were trying to like really say, we're not like that. We are not like the Roman Empire in decay and things. And I think when you come back to it, especially in modern America, you have a strong Puritanism of trying to reclaim an identity of also being like, we are not the Roman Empire in decay, even where some might argue there are definite similarities. And I do find it to be extremely cultural imperialist. It is a type of cultural moray that is oppressive, and it basically is people telling other people you have to dress a certain way, wear certain clothes, fit in with a culture that wasn't indigenous to this region and was brought over by other people, and we shouldn't have to cater to those people's mores. If, for instance, you had a bunch of people saying we should all wear hijabs, I think you would see a hard pushback against
Hey,
that. I don't,
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. I just wanted to bring something up, but I'll do it after. I'm sorry.
I definitely disapprove of, like, for instance, I'm not trans, but I certainly empathize a lot with I am very tomboy, so I don't like dresses. I will never naturally wear a dress or a skirt. It's just never gonna happen. I like pants because I kick. And I like to do yoga. I like to, move around a lot in ways I cannot in a dress or skirt.
I just wanted
And
to clarify something.
yeah,
Um, so it's important to me that I get like the details right, and it looks like the Spider Woman controversy, quote unquote. But it was criticized in the games press and by people on Twitter, I guess. So you can call it a controversy. Um, that was in August of 2014, but the change the cover hashtag started in March of 2015. Now, were there some people who might have posted that cover in the hashtag? Sure, that wouldn't
yes,
surprise me too much. But the specific demand to change the cover was about the Batgirl cover specifically.
right.
I just wanted to clarify for the book.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't even think I was in the hashtag in that spring. I don't think it was until like that summer when it got a little more about boobs. I don't I know when The Killing Joke had the movie coming out, there was a lot of like back and forth. So at first I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you telling me Batman and Batgirl had a sexual fling? What are you doing? Well, no, no, no!" And I was very upset, and I was like, "But she's like, no, they have like a father-daughter relationship." And I actually had a friend who was like, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you straight up. I really love actually their sexual relationship, and I had written, a couple of years ago before the movie came out, this whole behind the scenes thing of it, and I'd like you to look at it, and I hope you're open to changing your mind." And I did. I 100% changed my mind. I read that and I was like, "Okay, I'm sold. Like, this is fantastic. I like this so much more than what I had previously assumed for their relationship." Cuz they made it much less like Batman was like winning her in their story. and much more like Batgirl was using him because of their own issues, and they were like claiming their own identity and sexuality and doing what they wanted personally. And I thought that was fantastic, and I do think it's fantastic. And so okay, when it came to the Killing Joke, I know, oh man, uh how much was I wasn't, I think I only really got involved and changed the cover in Comics Gate, like I said, when it came to like big boobs. And like I said, I like Vampirella, and they changed Vampirella's clothes like entirely. And I was like, no! Give her back her thong that covers her nipples for whatever bizarre reason that makes no fucking sense, but it's comics, so they can. Um, I mean, I like Lupin the Third, and Fujiko is like barely covered ever and changes constantly, and all the rest. But the point was Killing Joke. I understand again, like if it's a violent thing, why you might want that, and it could be triggering. But the content is definitely more graphic and disturbing than the cover ever will be. When it comes to sexuality, I believe strongly in the idea of women should be allowed to claim their own sexual identity and shouldn't have mores oppressed upon them by others, even including other older women.
Were you also involved in the Lionhead Studios controversy or the Pillars of Eternity controversy?
I was not. What was the Pillars of Eternity controversy?
Pillars of Eternity is a game by Obsidian Entertainment. They did a Kickstarter for the game where people who donated money get to put jokes on tombstones. One of the jokes on the
Right.
tombstone involved someone who jumped off a cliff, I believe, because they realized because they got super drunk and they slept with a man who they thought was a woman, and then they jumped off a cliff and died. And someone on
Really sad.
Twitter, and a large number of people on Twitter, and also on the Obsidian forums, became a hot button debate. Um, Demanded that the joke be taken out of the game, and Obsidian did take the joke out of the game, but they replaced it with another joke by the same person who paid the money for that joke to be in there, and they made
Mhm.
a joke. They put the new joke in. The new joke was making fun of people who supported cancel culture. Um,
Okay.
so it's kind of mocking the people who demanded they take the joke out. And
Right.
they did a poll on the forums, the Obsidian forums, where a majority of the people on the forums said that they should keep the joke in there. But even though
Mhm.
a majority of the people on the forum said that, they got rid of the joke anyway.
So I do own Pillars of Eternity. I was part of supporting them on the Kickstarter. It was a spiritual successor at the time, considered for Baldur's Gate, and I was thrilled. I was like, hell yeah! I haven't even finished it. They have a running gag even in Baldur's Gate with tombstones in general. One of them, if you click it in the first Baldur's Gate, you will eventually like pull up someone who is faking his death, and he'll like go after you with Phoenix guards, and they will kick your ass. Uh, so I'm not surprised that all that happened. I don't believe in pressuring studios. I can't say that. I do believe in pressuring studios. However, on such a thing, I understand why they would have it. I understand why they would remove it. I am not in favor of them having to remove it. I understand why they would certainly replace it with a joke about like cancel culture, mocking the people, demanding that it be removed. I think it's very sad that that person killed themselves, and I understand why people would be like, wow, we should not be celebrating his death by suicide just because he slept with a man. Like, calm your gay panic down. Uh, or even, I don't know, turf panic, I guess, trans panic. But either way, it's just not, life is valuable and you shouldn't waste it. I was not involved in that, and I do agree more that, okay, obviously the gamers who literally spent the money on this are on the side of keeping the joke in. I also agree, like, if you create a game, you're allowed to have your jokes, but understand you will get certain people to backlash. Now, the problem is the backlash was probably predominantly people who don't play, Pillars of Eternity and wouldn't play it
Well, I
anyway.
don't know if that's true. I
Um,
mean, they might. Also, I want to clarify real quick. The poll was not created by the company, but by users on the forum. Just to clarify,
right.
for the book and for the audience. But yeah, sorry. God.
Um, Certainly, like one of the things I was saying with Comicsgate, a lot of the people who would complain about things do not buy, or like just straight up do not buy comic books. And that's one of the big problems the industry has. They're constantly trying to cater to people who do not buy comic books. Now, that said, why do you think they're doing that? Well, they also believe and know rightfully that Gen Z and Zoomers tend to be really like less okay with quote unquote sexism, harassment, misogyny, racism. They're very, very progressive in that regard, which I think is fantastic. But they also like, so in general, like they are trying to cater to not just them but their parents, and obviously, like, it's the same thing with like Twitter right now and why Elon Musk is having problems with his advertisers. Advertisers don't want to be around really sexist, racist stuff. Like, it's definitely an advertiser killer. You will not get advertisers being like, yeah, I sign on for like being right next to the Daily Storm or whatever. Daily Mail? No. Daily Mail is UK paper. What the hell is it?
The neo-Nazi
Whatever.
website?
Neo
We
Nazis,
probably
exactly.
shouldn't say their name unless like there's a journalistic
Okay.
reason to do so, just so we don't like drive traffic to them.
Point being, yeah, there's a reason, nobody wants to be associated with them. Obvious reasons. And there's, let's, companies are very risk adverse. And anything too spicy is also risky. Now, I too like spicy things more than bland. I hate oatmeal. I like spicy. I love Thai and Japanese curry. Like, throw me the chili peppers, I'll eat it. But yeah, companies don't want to do that. It's risky. They literally have to be risk adverse. That's how the money model runs. So I get it. When it comes to free speech, are there limits? Yes, in regards to like how much pushback of others' free speech are you willing to put up with? And to a financial degree, like how much would it cost them to continually deal with that? And I can't say they made their decision.
What do
I do
advertisers have to do with this random video game? Pillars of Eternity.
consider. I was thinking more like with regards to publications, so like uh, Kotaku and shit. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's not like Pillars of Eternity doesn't have advertiser problems. Like, yes, but they do have to deal with like their own publicity kind of thing. If all the articles or and this is why Gamergate was meant to exist, because people wanted to have the opportunity for artists to say things that might be controversial. For instance, there was one dev I was talking to who wanted to wanted to create a horror game where you are falsely accused of rape, and there's no fucking way he can ever get it done because it's so extremely controversial. And I would have loved to play it. Like, I've known men who I would say were falsely accused of rape. And it's just, yeah, like, I get it. You're gonna have a very hard time getting that sold. Even like the gamers themselves might be all in on willing to play it. and that's still just not damn enough. So when it comes to like Pillars of Eternity, they're not having to deal with the advertisers, but they are having to deal with investors, and they are having to deal with not just the people doing the Kickstarter for the thing.
I
And they are having to pay people to handle the complaints.
I disagreed with Oron Darklord in my interview with him about the Overwatch controversy involving Tracer's pose. Do you remember this controversy?
Yes,
What did you think?
I think Blizzard has so many other issues that I
True.
think that they only had that because they were covering up their real issues, to be honest.
It's funny too because Oron held the view that the guy making the forum post was engaging in censorship, or sorry, he was trying to pressure the developers. Whereas I viewed it as this is exactly what I told the social justice warrior people to do. I said if you disagree with games and if you think that this is a bad way to represent female characters, let's say, rather than try to pressure the developers into removing the rather than try to pressure the developers into taking stuff out, make suggestions. Say, hey, look, here's how I think you could do this better, and here's why I think that this is bad for the game as an artistic matter. And that's what the guy did. He made a post on the forums saying, hey, I disagree with this. I think it's a poor representation of Tracer as a character. And Blizzard said, you know what? I agree. And they changed it. I think that's good. I think that's how it should be done, not these hashtag campaigns on Twitter and whatnot. But what do you think?
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with Oran either. I think it's just, like I said, I think Blizzard will take any chance they can to distract from the fact that they have a lot of internal issues when it came to like their staff.
Yeah, the sexual harassment and stuff.
Yeah.
True.
Drinking breast milk from the bottle that had been saved for their employees. Like, bro, so many issues. And like I said, like that's not unique to Blizzard. It's just the most obvious because they were the ones literally investigated by the state of California. Like,